the Lion Blade Task Force from the Dark Angels. In this overview, we're going to be taking a look at exactly some of the best combinations that you can take in order to make the most of your Dark Angels models. Let's see them on the table and see how they do and how it competitively shapes up in the meta. Coming up is going to be an overview of the brand new detachment that Games Workshop have been releasing for Warhammer 40,000. We're going to look at whether this detachment is going to be a competitive choice, whether it's going to be one that's more flavorful and narrative, and maybe something that you might want to consider trying yourself, or alternatively, what you need to know and look out for if you're going to be playing against some of these new detachments. Now, to take things a little bit further on our members page, and if you want to become a YouTube member, the link's going to be in the description. You are going to get a list for this detachment, something that's super competitive, super flavorful, and we're going to make the most of what we can do with this detachment. Now, as we always say, we will try and help you use the models that you own, and we're going to give you some top combos that you can introduce into your list to really make the most of them. Now, not only that, but you're also going to get loads of additional members content, whether it's our live members lounge where you can get your questions answered, or even dictate our games that we play on streams on Fridays. And on our masterclass series, we go one step further. We show you the list, we show you how to deploy it, and we also show you some advanced tactics. And the best thing about that is that you're going to understand exactly how every single faction plays in the game of Warhammer 40,000, so you don't get caught out at the tabletop. We're all about helping you feel like you're able to compete at the table, and knowing all that information is going to be one of those steps to ensure that you don't get gotcha momented. So enjoy this detachment overview, and we really hope and look forward to your feedback and some of the best ways to play this detachment.
It's time to take a look at an overview of the Lion's Blade Task Force detachment. Michael, what do we get for running this detachment?
Well, this is the ultimate Dark Angels detachment, I feel, because you get the wings combining to devastating effect. So what we get here is the detachment rule in the Lion's Claws. So our Raven Wing units force desperate escape tests on enemy units that are in combat with them, provided that the enemy unit's not a vehicle or a monster. If they're battle shocked, though, it's at an extra -1. So a 1 to 3, a model dies. If they're battle shocked, 1 to 2, if they're not.
Yeah, we've seen this rule appear in the game quite a few times already, but having this on your Ravenwing units means that we can really tie down our opponent, which actually we want to do that in the Ravenwing detachment as well, funnily enough, right? We use all these bite units to get in fast and just tie up your opponent with loads of like wounds and stuff on these models.
Exactly. You got these, 4-wound Outrider models, and they're just there to take the hit, block your opponent, tie up units. And now if your opponent can't kill these units, which oftentimes they can't necessarily, especially if there's something like elite infantry, anything like this, if they want to fall back, whether they can still shoot or charge or whatever later on, they might die on a 1 or a 2, and you take that model off the board. And it is horrible.
It's a constant like nagging feeling, isn't it, in the back of your head when you're the player that wants to fall back, and you're like, well, I could lose a model or multiple models just by falling back, and I might not even have an ability that lets me actually function after falling back.
Yeah.
So it might be that double whammy, right? That you don't have access to fall back and shoot or charge.
Exactly. And if you're not careful with your placement, you are going to be caught off guard by this, especially considering one of the stratagems later. There's a second part. Deathwing units, when they're declaring a charge against one or more targets, if one of those targets is already engagement range of Ravenwing, you get +2 to your charge roll.
So if we look at this in conjunction with, let's say we've got 2 units we want to charge, one of those units is already in engagement range of a Ravenwing unit, and our Deathwing unit now can go, we're going to charge both of these units, but because one of those units is in engagement range of a Ravenwing unit, we get +2 to charge against the other unit as well, which means we can actually get these charges a lot easier. But there's an even more significant reason why this works, isn't there, Michael?
Yes, because we can deep strike.
Yeah.
With a lot of Deathwing units. All of those infantry choices, Terminators, are going to be able to deep strike and then make potentially a 7-inch charge.
Yeah.
With a reroll available, because this is just a detachment rule. So you can spend that command point on that reroll, get into combat. Sadly, the Lion does not have the Deathwing keyword.
That
As
would
of
have
filming
been
this,
so epic, yeah.
I really hope they give it to him, because he kind of is the... But I guess he isn't Deathwing.
He's not directly Deathwing.
He's not really Deathwing, so I guess he shouldn't have it, but it's a bit weird.
He should have a rule that encompasses him to have all of the keywords.
He's got all the wings.
But then he might be a bit too
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to go back to them days, Michael.
Yeah, no.
But This is I actually think this is a very good detachment rule because it allows us to work really well. There's really cool synergy happening here. Yeah. But also there's characters that mean we can get the most out of this from, I mean, Samael's really good with his Raven Wing, but you could have a captain, a Terminator captain that gives you reroll charges. Yes. So now you've got a 7-inch charge, potentially reroll charges on it.
Built-in reroll, yeah.
So there's these little combos that we've got going on here that's really good. Yeah.
And you've got a few guarantees just from like even your inner circle companions that might be disembarking and charging something just by having a small cheap unit of an Invader ATV, for example, one of the cheapest units in the Codex. Just goes, charges in, tags something, and then suddenly you get +2 to charge with all your Deathwing. Yeah. But, George, we do need to talk about keywords.
Yes, so we've obviously mentioned Ravenwing, we've mentioned Deathwing. What units actually make up the Ravenwing, or what units make up the Deathwing?
Okay, so anything, of course, with that Ravenwing keyword, so they're mainly going to be things in this codex, the supplement for Dark Angels, that is. Anything mounted from the Space Marines Codex, and, of course, anything that's a vehicle with fly.
So Storm Speeders, Storm Raven?
Yeah, Storm Raven, all the aircraft. Yeah. But yeah, the most significant thing I think here, and we'll mention them again later, is Storm Speeders. Okay, so Deathwing, this one's pretty big. Okay, so we've got Terminators, so all Terminators. We've got all forms of Blade Guard, including the Ancient. We've got Stern Guard, we've got Vanguard, and then we've got, of course, our Land Raiders and Repulsors, and any Dreadnoughts we might have as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Deathwing side of things compiles pretty much all of the main units that you take for a Space Marine army anyway.
They're pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very strong. But we've obviously got enhancements to look at next. Now, let's take a look at some of these enhancements and let's see the impact that this will have on the rest of the list. So what is the first enhancement to look at?
We've got Calibanite Armaments.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. A bit of a mouthful. Very simple, though, +1 damage to bearers' melee weapons.
You say it's simple, Michael. But that is a very, very strong ability. What are some of the characters that you think would work really well here?
The most competitive one, a captain on foot.
Yeah.
You can, once per game, have the finest hour, +3 attacks, devastating wounds with now a damage 3 power sword, or fist, whichever one takes your preference. The sword, of course, gets 1 extra attack. Yeah. Go in, probably with Assault Intercessors. Look, you can't change what's already good.
Yeah, this is just double down on it, right?
It's just doubling down on it. And you just send this unit in and you absolutely destroy something.
Especially if it's on an objective, re-rolling all wounds with dev wounds with flat 3 damage. It's horrific.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Which one takes the best though, do you reckon? Rage Fueled Warrior Captain with Sustain 3 or this one?
This is consistency, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Dark Angels versus the Blood Angels. Consistency.
Versus angry.
Angry. Some other options, if you fancy them, a Gravis Captain would get it on both their main Power Fist and their extra attacks weapon. So you'd have like 8 damage, 3 attacks all the time, rather than just a 9 once with the other Captain.
But just no dev wounds built in.
No dev wounds. Yeah. Obviously, you know, if you've got Deathwing involved, you could take it on Terminators of various kinds. Equally, you could take it on the Raven Wing Champion that's part of the command squad. Yeah. So you've got a few options, but just put on a captain and take some Assault Intercessors.
Judicia is also a good option.
Yeah, Judicia is not bad as well. Yeah, absolutely. Especially any of these units also within inner circles.
Yes.
Companion units are also going to be great.
Next one.
Lord of the Hunt. Raven Wing only. So this is basically, it's going to go on your command squad. Unit can fall back, shoot and charge. In addition, can reroll Desperate Escapes.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So you can fall back over people and reroll the roll for whether your models are destroyed or not.
You could voluntarily just move over people rather than do the Desperate Escapes.
Yeah. So if someone leaves you space, you can literally go straight to their home objective.
Yeah.
Like, you move like 12, 14 inches and just go.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it means that move block means it's still effective in the fact that it's still forcing that potential dead model. But now you've got that reassurance in your mind that if you do roll out 1 or 2, you just go, I'll re-roll it and hopefully survive the next.
You're now tempted and there could be a clutch moment where that works. Yeah. More importantly, fallback and charge is great because you can now tag a different unit to then allow Deathwing to get a 7-inch charge or Deep Strike or whatever it might be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stalwart Champion is next. This is Captain, Chaplain or Lieutenant. If the bearer's unit's not battle shocked, they get +1 to their OC.
Okay. Now, this is very good. I think we discussed this off camera. Deathwing Knights with a Ancient and a Captain.
OC3.
OC3 Deathwing Knights, just sit on objectives.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, very, very good. Very, very strong. I mean, to be honest, like you could even put it on Inner Circle, who are already OC2,
You could put an Ancient in there as well.
You can put Ancient in, it makes them OC4. So there's just +1 OC on these units means that we've now got multiple layers to the efficiency of that unit, don't we?
Yeah, we can just stand on an objective marker. The amount of bases we need to get on there isn't as important.
Yeah.
And we're going to see strats later anyway that's going to be incredibly powerful for now holding objective markers with units like Deathwing. And I think the first place you go is you just stick it on a Deathwing unit, Knights. You put a captain in a Knights unit and you're golden.
Yeah.
A 7-inch charge with the reroll from the captain with now OC2 per model is great. You don't need the Ancient necessarily, but you definitely put it in a Deathwing Knight unit.
Yeah, 100%.
Finally, we've got Fulgus Magna.
Don't know what that is.
Don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Deathwing model only. Once per battle, at the end of your opponent's turn, if you're not in engagement range, you can put the unit into strat reserves. They're not forced to come back on either. So you can just pop them up there, wait, drop down for that 7-inch charge because you have Ravenwing nearby. With a reroll, why not?
Yeah, with a reroll, exactly. Yeah. I think this is very good because it means you can clear one area of the board and just relocate somewhere else as well. Because most of the time you only need to do it one area and then you can affect another area, and the battle's only really affected in 2 places, usually in a game, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a very, very strong. All these enhancements, by the way,
they're really good.
They're really good. Like, I think there's a place for all of them.
Yeah, agreed.
I think you're going to have a tough decision to make when it comes to building your list as to which ones you want.
I think the flex is probably going to be between whether you want fullback and charge on a Ravenwing unit or whether you want the up
and down,
down at some point.
Yeah.
Enhancements. I
the
think
other two.
You always take the OC on the Knights, and you always take +1 damage on a captain on foot.
Yeah, absolutely good. Well, next ones, we've got some stratagems, right? We've got 6 stratagems. What is the first one we're going to take a look at?
Overpowering Exaction. 1 command point in the command phase, either player's command phase, or the start of the fight phase, either player's fight phase.
Yep.
You can pick a Adepta Sororitas unit from your army, and you select an enemy unit within engagement range. They have to take a battle shock test. It's at -1 if you have either Ravenwing or the Deathwing keywords.
Okay, so this will probably be really good as if someone wanted to charge that OC ridiculous unit on an objective, where you could just spend a CP and force them to take a battle shock at -1.
Yeah. No aggressive stratagems.
No.
And they can't take the objective off you.
It's quite a bit, actually. I mean, I know the thing is with battle shock is it's one of those things where you go, but it's your opponent gets a chance to roll to see if it affects them. So it's not like a guaranteed effect. You're not stopping anything guaranteed. But that presence in your opponent's mind of going, well, I might not be able to get this secondary card, or I might not be able to get primary next turn because this has happened. And if they are battle shocked in their turn, well, that's going to last for your whole turn as well. So you've basically got 2 turns effectively of it happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very good. It's very good.
Okay, next one.
Next, we've got Armor Contempt.
Okay, really, really good. I mean, this is a staple of every Marine army, right?
Lots of 2-up saves.
Yeah.
Fantastic. 3-up saves, but tons of wounds. Fantastic. That's your Ravenwing equivalent. Great. Next, we've got Strength in Unity. This one's a little wordy, but essentially it boils down to it's 1 CP in the fight phase after your opponent selected their targets. If they're in engagement range of Ravenwing, they're -1 to their hit rolls, regardless of who they're actually attacking.
Yep.
And if they're in engagement range of Deathwing, they're -1 to their wound rolls if their strength is higher than the toughness of whatever they're attacking.
So any Adepta Sororitas unit could be affected as, or could be selected as the target, but as long as the enemy unit that's issued the target is in engagement range of one of them 2 units, will get a debuff of one or the other.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Exactly that, yeah. So you can benefit any unit, provided there's Ravenwing or Deathwing, or both, in which case you'd get both debuffs in combat with your opponent's unit.
I mean, to be honest, there is also a staple at the end saying we can't combo this with Armor Contempt as well, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's probably a bit more of a balancing factor there, right? In the fact that you're not getting -1 to hit and wound potentially and -1 AP. But what we can see here is we can maybe combo this with, like we said, with loads of wounds from Ravenwing. Yeah. Well, but they're always going to be there, so they're always going to be -1 to hit effectively, right?
Yeah.
Or Deathwing Knights, you can just always get -1 to wound if something's higher than their toughness.
Yeah.
So there's loads of plays around this that's really good.
Yeah. To put it bluntly, 1 CP to make your Deathwing Knight as -1 to wound is just disgusting.
Yeah.
It's going to be very good.
We're
all going to hate it.
Yeah.
If we don't play Dark Angels.
Yeah.
Knights of Iron. 1 CP, your movement phase or your charge phase. A Ravenwing unit from your army. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes a normal, advance, or charge move, you can move horizontally through terrain features.
Okay, so there's 2 things to talk about here. One, it means that now the mounted keyword that we all dreaded and didn't really like to take because of terrain and moving it around a board, well, it doesn't matter on one of your units. You can just go straight through it and charge through it freely. But the other side of it as well doesn't stop move blocks, in the sense that it's only terrain that is going to allow you to move through, not enemy models.
Yeah, exactly. And these bikes obviously move very, very fast. Even your storm speeders now can move straight through the terrain pieces. You've also got your Dark Talon that can move straight through these terrain pieces. Samiel gives advance and charge to the unit. That's going to be very quick. You've got an auto 6 on the advance from Outriders as well. So this unit's going to go straight through any ruin it likes and charge whatever it wants as well. And then force these desperate escape tests from your opponent. So you've got to really be careful about this stratagem because your opponent is going to cause problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's time for probably the best stratagem. The most incredible stratagem in this detachment is Illuminating Fire. For 1 command point in your shooting phase, just after a Ravenwing unit from your army has selected its targets, you can select 1 enemy unit within 12 inches of your unit that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit stacks. So your Ravenwing have to be within 12 inches of a target, and then any Deathwing units that target that unit get +1 to wound.
So let's
for the shooting phase.
Yeah, for the shooting phase. But let's just rewind to the start of this video where we just said what Deathwing units are affected by this. So, Michael, what Deathwing units will benefit from this detachment?
Terminators, bolters.
Cool.
Yeah. Blade Guard, pistols, Blade Guard, more pistols. Stern Guard, okay. A bit more spicy.
Yeah.
Vanguard Vets, no. Land Raider Crusader, Land Raider Redeemer, Repulsor Executioner, Dreadnoughts 2.
A Repulsor Executioner with +1 to wound against a target is absolutely diabolical.
Yeah, I've got to stress the fact that it's just a Ravenwing unit that has to be within 12 of the target.
Yeah.
The Deathwing unit could be the other side of the board.
Yeah.
This is obscene.
It's very strong. I mean, there's so many combos that can go on here. I mean, even the Dreadnoughts are Ballistas potentially if you have it as well. But the Repulsor, because of the magnitude of weapons that it has, like even just your Iron Stubbers or Iron Hail Stubbers, +1 to wound on them as well is very, very good.
Redeemer.
Yeah.
Have fun with that one.
Yeah, it's very strong.
Just wound all your Space Marines on 2s.
Yeah.
Great. Wound your Custodes on 3s. Grim.
Yeah.
Really
this is
grim.
the Grim Dark Detachment, this one, isn't it?
Really
it's very,
grim.
very strong.
You can't use it for anything less than 1 CP, though, because there's no, like, Captain Rights of Battles that you can put on Ravenwing. Next, Inescapable Wrath. 2 CP, end of your opponent's charge phase. 1 Deathwing Infantry or Deathwing Walker unit from your army that is within 6 inches of 1 or more enemy units and would be eligible to declare a charge against 1 or more of those enemy units. Your unit declares a charge that only targets that 1 enemy unit you selected.
Yep.
Even if it's successful, you don't get charge bonuses, so you don't get fights first.
No, but if you did have like +1 strength or something, you would get that, right? The best thing that I can see here is we've mentioned again with this Terminator bricks or Inner Circle bricks sitting behind the wall and putting loads of OC on an objective where you could cover the whole objective within 6 inches easy.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Especially on the terrain that we're familiar with over in the UK, the UKTC terrain. You can put a unit of Deathwing Knights behind a wall on the other side of an objective marker, and one of the classic ways to steal objective markers is to just put a unit of, let's say, for example, 10 Cadian infantry, OC2 each on the objective. Well, now they immediately get charged, potentially for 1 CP if there's a captain in the unit, with a reroll on the charge roll because of the captain, and then get killed.
If you wanted to, you could also have the ability to come off the board.
Yeah, or you could just
so you
kill them, leave.
Leave and go to a different objective.
7-inch sharp.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah, I think this is a really, really cool detachment. There's a lot of flexible tactics you got here. You're using the full range, pretty much, of Dark Angels miniatures.
Yeah.
You get to use those bikes, and they're effective in this detachment. You get to use your Terminators, and they are immense in this detachment. What are your thoughts?
I genuinely think that this detachment will... I might be very early saying this, but I think this will be the new way of playing Dark Angels competitively. Yeah. I genuinely like the stratagems, the combos, the strength that this affords the army as well, and the mind games it poses to your opponent through either battle shock or coming off the board, or it's just very strong, isn't it? It's very, very good.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is awesome. This is going to be the true way to play Dark Angels, I think. So kudos to GW for this one. What an epic detachment. However, I think Illuminating Fire is a little bit too strong, but we're going to see how that plays out in
Agreed.
on the tournament scene.
I think, look, we're only theory hammering here. There's certain things we're looking at and go, oh, well, that sounds a bit scary, but time will tell, and we'll see how it plays out. But other than that, let's move on to some SWOT analysis next.
Let's do it.